I picked two things that I could work on for this video, but I didn't decide what to do, which one to do. I removed this flake in a previous video, not too long ago, and someone asked me, I think it was Brandon, asked me to work on this one. How does that work out into an arrowhead? I'll put a link to the video and I'll try to find out where it is in the video that I removed this particular flake. If I work on this one. This one is will be like a rock to point, but it's not really a rock to point. It's more like a ancient spall to point or something like that. It was just dug up like this. Found nature broke it up, or maybe Native Americans spalled it out and it was just left there. I could tell it's got a impact fracture there, it looks like. I don't know. I think what I'll do is I'll work on this one first. Yeah, I'll work on this one also. I don't know if I'll upload both of those videos today, but I'll work on the other one also as the next project. Yeah. Okay. Let's see I'm just curious to see what's in this one. Okay. I think it's banded something or other. I've also got the nodule productivity stuff to finish up, but I didn't feel like working on that. Yeah. I did not wake up refreshed today. I don't know what it is. But yeah. I picked Flintknapping because I can flint knap under almost any conditions. So it doesn't really matter how I feel, I can still flint knap. The only problem is I can't do really difficult stuff when I'm not feeling just right. So I've got stuff set aside to do when I'm feeling really good that I could be napping instead of this, but I'm not feeling really good. I'm feeling okay, or a little bit blah, but blah doesn't interfere too much with the flint napping at all. So yeah. With the normal flint napping. Now if it's really, really hard, then yeah, it interferes with it. Well, that was easy. Yeah. I was looking at some stuff I got from Mike Tufts a while ago and I still haven't used it. Let's see. I haven't used it very much. These little boppers. And I got hand pads. I'm going to reshape some of these hand pads. This one is pretty good though. And when I do some parallel flaking, I think might use some of these pads. Yeah. So that's coming up. Let's use this little bopper, this little Mike Tufts bopper, to get this flattened out and thinned down a little bit. This is kind of buttery. Yeah. It's a little bit crackly, I can tell already. Yeah. Oh well. I chose it, now I gotta live with it. The crackly stuff is not that easy. Yeah, this works pretty good. It's just the right size. It's really heavy too. So I don't have to do much work. I can let the bopper do some work, but I still got to be careful because it's a little bit too good for this material. Nice. Yeah, it's very aggressive. Nice. Okay. Oh, I did not put the mask on. Oh well. See, I bought a bunch of these, but I have it set right there so I can put it on, but I didn't put it on. Too late now. I've already done all the dusty stuff. Is there more dusty stuff coming up? Yeah, I suppose there is. A little bit. Not too much. It's already very well shaped as far as the preliminary biface. I think I'm going to keep this one in this little bopper in my kit permanently. Take this one out. Let's see where to go. This one, I'm going to take this one out. 1.7 ounce. Keep this one in. I got another one. Oh yeah, I need to try this with copper instead of a steel nail. Did I bend it? It looks all bent. Yeah, I did. This looks like it's out of whack. That way. What did I do? And it's hard to twist. What did I do? I did something to it. Dang it. Alright, well, I want to get something else in there. I think I have some small diameter copper somewhere. So this one, I think this is a 5.5 ounce. These two feel almost the same. This one is heavier. Anyways, okay. Yeah, I can just, if I'm just very careful with it and just kind of doing meditative napping, I can knock off some really good flakes with this little bopper. I can meditate and relax when I'm napping if I go slow, if I use a tool like this. It's very comfortable. But I usually don't do napping for meditation. No. I used to a long time ago when I first started, but it quickly became an occupation of answering questions. How do you do it? How do you do this? How do you do that? I guess people were not sharing their napping knowledge back in the day. Or when I first started, there wasn't many actually sharing all of their knowledge. So people were starving for the information. That's what I'm assuming. That's what it seemed like, because nowadays there's still new people dying for information, but it's not like it used to be. It's a little more specific now, whereas before it was just, I don't care, just show me anything. You know what I mean? Just do it. And I want to see what you're doing. And what tools. Yeah. Tools. Tools. What tools? Where do you get them? How do you make them? Blah, blah, blah. There used to be a lot more of that back in the day when I first started. A lot of desperate questions. And if any of you guys are interested in Danish flint, I probably should just make a separate announcement in a separate video. If you guys are interested in Danish flint, let me know so I know how many people are actually interested in it. And then I can order some Danish flint. Or order a big batch. Relatively speaking, you know, not like 1,000 pounds, but you know, maybe 100 pounds. And then if you are living in Europe and you need Danish flint, I'm pretty sure I can hook you up with a Danish flint seller to have it shipped to you without going through me. Just you know, deal directly with the seller. I'm not going to make any money off of those sales, but it's good for you because then you'll stay in the napping and stay viewing the channel and maybe participate in an auction. Yeah. That kind of thing. Alright, so what's next? So this is the first stage of the biface. I'm going to thin it now. This is the end of the meditation phase. So, you know, if you do bifacing all day, you can meditate and unwind, decompress, relax, or, you know, basically listen to music and have a day off, pretty much, from serious, stressful napping by just doing these all day. Sometimes I do that, but it takes longer than normal. Usually I just do the doom scrolling on the internet looking for stuff instead of doing these bifaces. Doing the bifaces, of course, would be more productive for me. Yeah. But I got two brains. One says, I don't want to do that. I want to scroll the internet. And the other, you know, I have to put that brain to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to bed. Take a nap. I need to do something more productive. So that's what I did before I came out here today. I didn't want to stop looking for stuff on the internet. But I said, no, I gotta go back in the shop. What are you doing? I gotta start doing the stressful napping. Get ready for tomorrow. Sooner the better. The sooner I start doing the stress napping, the better. I'll exhaust myself doing the doom scrolling all day. Even though I might pick up some good information here and there. I need to not do that too much. One thing I was looking at that was Flintknapping related was the concept of mental templates. Yeah, I was on the recent video, maybe it was the last one, I was saying something about mental model. The mental model, I couldn't remember the word, but in archaeology there's such a thing as mental template. Mental template. It's an idea that people hold in their minds a cultural image of an artifact or a thing that they make. They hold the image in their mind, and it's influenced mainly by culture and stuff like that. Interaction with other people and culture in an abstract way. It's held in memory, and it's part of the culture. And it exists within archaeology as an idea that helps to explain why certain artifacts look the way they do. And it pertains not only to flint-knapped items, but also to pottery, mainly. That's the two fields that have the mental template in their discussions is pottery and the flint-knapping or lithic objects. Flint-knapped. Even ground stone objects. Doesn't have to be flint-knapped. But I was discussing with Grok the importance of the idea. It's kind of an antiquated idea. It's been replaced by other concepts that incorporate experimentation and that kind of thing, like the operational chain or chain of operation and things like that. Instead of being an abstract idea, there are more testable ideas that are coming to the forefront in the lithics, the lithic studies. Anyway, yeah, I was discussing with Grok, or the Twitter, or ex-Twitter AI, the tool. I try to use it as much as I can because I'm paying for a Twitter subscription. Ex-Twitter. So I try to use the AI as much as possible for discussions. I was having a discussion with Grok, which is the name of the AI. And yeah, Grok does a pretty good job these days. It's getting better in analyzing opinions and analyzing ideas and stuff. I think it's gaining more access to more libraries of information and more areas of information, and I think it's drawing upon more user interactions, especially the users that write books, that kind of thing. I have a feeling it's drawing on information from people that were writing books. Because when you write a book, like I'm in the process of writing a book or two books actually, and what I do with Grok is I upload some information from a book, and I say, according to the information I just uploaded, can you analyze this or that or this or that? Or whatever. I'll ask questions on the information, and can you summarize and all that kind of stuff. It'll summarize for you, it'll analyze it for you, it'll compare it to other existing works. Anyway, I think that's what it's drawing on, and it's getting better. Because the answers now are more complete than they were just 6 months ago, which is fairly recent. It can analyze and generate better answers. So what is the moral of the story with the mental template? Well, it seems like it's going by the wayside as an idea, but it is still strongly held within the Flintknapping community that the mental template or the cultural impression of how something looks exists in the minds of nappers, and it's very conformative. It generates items that look very similar to each other. It's something within the minds of nappers that makes the items look similar, rather than just go, hey buddy, can I look at your arrowhead? Let's see. Can I look at that? I'll copy it, okay? I'll give it back in a minute. Instead of that, the idea is the napper already has the idea in his head, and he generates the items according to the idea. It doesn't borrow or look at existing physical examples, let's say. Okay? The idea is still prevalent within the Flintknapping community that that's how it was done back in the day. I'm not saying everyone thinks that way, but it's still a common conception and a common way of thinking about answering the question, how was it done back in the day? Well, the napper had a mental template. Really? Yeah, it was this thing that existed in the mind. They had an idea already how it's supposed to look because that's the way they were taught, or that's just the cultural way. And of course, it's influenced by what actually works. But it's more of a internal thing that generates the look of the artifact, instead of an external thing like copying what already exists and not even thinking about it, not even having to memorize what it actually looks like. You know what I'm saying? A mental template is a replacement for like a how-to book, because that how-to book and the designs within the book are stored in the brain. So instead of having a book to tell you how to generate something, it's all stored in the brain, and that information supposedly was passed down from generation to generation and produces a conformity of items. And a conformity of not only the items, but the flakes, the flaking patterns, the way the flakes look, and what tools to use. It all comes from a tradition that's passed down and stored within people's brains. Yeah. Turns out that idea is not very explanatory when it comes to real world making of these things. In actual testable examples, like people that were still Flintknapping recently, and modern Flintknapping, in the modern Flintknapping community, as current examples that can be looked at, the way Flintknapping proceeds and gets taught is not in that way. There isn't that kind of mental template usually. There are external factors that are ignored that have a big impact on how Flintknap items are made. The idea of a mental template ignores external factors like designs that sell better, you know, flint knappers that cater to the market rather than catering to what they think the item should look like, or what they've been taught that certain items should look like. As an example, there are other examples of things that are external influences on the outcome of the knapping. You know, market forces are a big part of a lot of flint knapping today. But there's also the copy effect, where you just copy what's already existing, like in books, like the Overstreet Guide. You just look at the item in the guide, and you just pick what you like from an existing template. You don't have to think about coming up with a design, or you don't have to have a design in your mind that was passed down from cultures in the past. You can just look and see and copy directly from something you think looks cool. It's already existing. There's no mental template. You've got an existing example. Even though it's a photograph, it's still an existing example. And, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, I was doing some studying on that concept, making sure that the way I was thinking is reasonable. I'm thinking that the concept of a mental template is not all that great or useful, because it ignores, you know, several aspects of flint knapping that are very important. Very important in how the artifact or the item looks. Not only right now in contemporary or modern settings, but in how they look like back in the day. Yeah. Now there could be times when a mental template is used for how the flakes should look, but it doesn't seem to be a full explanation of why we do certain flakes. I mean, I like the look of these bold flakes, but if it was just me and I wasn't making this to sell, I wouldn't make it that thin with bold flakes. I'd try to be a little safer with it. My mental template, if I had one, which I do to an extent, because I have in my mind what I like, I would make it thicker than this. My mental template says to make it thicker, but the actual items that I make are not according to my mental template in most cases. I like my pieces to be small, a little bit thicker, maybe out of a different material, because it's my preferences. But a lot of my items that I end up making are not my personal preferences. This is not what I would personally prefer to make. Yeah, I don't want to make something that other people don't want, because I've chosen to do this as a part-time business, and maybe a full-time business eventually. Yeah. Maybe not knapping itself, but something very closely related, or something that incorporates knapping within the business. I'll probably just end up doing books. So yeah, that'll help. A knowledge of flint knapping is indispensable when writing a flint knapping book, that's for sure. I'm putting together a bunch of notes that can apply to different kinds of books. Like, I can do a flint knapping book for beginners. I can do a flint knapping book for certain techniques, regardless of whether it's a beginner or advanced. I can also write a book on point styles for different existing examples of Native American arrows. There's a bunch of existing examples that have stone arrowheads on actual arrows and not, points specifically for atlatl darts, or what they think were atlatl dart points. We know for sure there are some arrowhead types that are for arrows, and we have existing examples of those that are still hafted. Yeah. I could write a book on that kind of stuff, because, I can just draw on the existing knowledge and just present it in a new way with my own examples of my reproductions and stuff. So yeah, I don't know which direction I'm going to go in quite yet. I like answering questions, but I don't really like the teaching all that much. I find it very difficult to know how to teach because everyone's different. Well, there's several different types of brains out there. It's very difficult for me to figure out a good approach to teaching these different brains. I'd rather just show examples of stuff instead of teaching you how to make them. Just show them already made. That's what I would prefer to do. I'll probably end up doing that, just showing examples of already made items instead of teaching how they're made or ways to make them. Inspirational books. Inspirational books. That way I don't have to be stressed out all the time. Yeah, as it gets thinner, it gets more like this. But, oh well, can't do much about it. Unless I make it more narrow, which I don't want to do it. Dang it. Scratched. Yeah, it is possible to scratch the surface of these things with the diamond file. If you're careless, you'll scratch the surface of the item. Okay. It makes me take risks with it. I try to be safe, I try to be cautious, I try to take it slow, but then it messes it up. Yeah. Believe it or not, sometimes the more careful I am, the worse it gets. Get diminishing returns. Yeah. Little light taps here and there, careful planning here and there. It can lead to holding back a little bit too much. You know, you gotta step on the gas and go for a wild ride in most cases, you know. Otherwise, it's not gonna look bold. It's gonna look like you were too careful with it. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. If you are real careful with it, it's gonna look like you were real careful with it. It's gonna look like you were, you know, just kind of halfway doing it. They weren't going for the gusto. If you see big bold flakes, that means you were going for the gusto. Yeah. It just so happens those are the flakes I like. But I don't like doing them. I just like the way they look. I like it when they turn out okay. When they turn out good. But doing them, it's a pain. It's a little bit stressful. Yeah. It's getting thin. Oh yes. And that didn't go far enough either. I sacrificed the edge and it still didn't go far enough. Story of my life. Even with great sacrifice, it wasn't enough of a sacrifice. Yeah. In a lot of lithic studies these days, they don't go into the differences between, you know, handicrafting and risk-taking, or, you know, sportsman-like activity compared to handicrafter activity. Sportsman-like activity takes risks, it puts yourself in a position of danger or in harm's way. And you're depending on, to a certain extent, on luck to achieve success. Whereas handicrafters don't operate in that way. Not usually. And if they do, then they're kind of mixing it up. could thin it out a little bit more, but do I really want to? I gotta do the risk analysis. I'll be right back. I gotta consult my risk analysis little programming device. Plug in the variables and see how it comes out. Be right back. I wish. Did my risk pay off? Yeah, it actually did. I took a risk on that last one right there. It was all building up to this last one. I wanted to get rid of that crunchiness in the middle. Luckily, the endings of the flake took care of what I wanted for the most part. There's still that little divot right there. I mean, that's not a big deal, but I wanted to smoothen it all out. And it worked pretty well. But the flake didn't scoop under it. It kind of went that way and this way, following that ridge and this ridge down here. It didn't blast through there. See, when the forces are traveling down there, they'll take the path of least resistance in most cases. Sometimes it does a weird thing and it doesn't seem to take the path of least resistance. But, you know, in 99% of the cases, it'll take the path of least resistance. So what that means is it went there and there, which is easier for it than to clean up that spot. And maybe it wasn't physically possible to get under there. Well, it might have been if I had taken a thicker flake or make it more narrow so that I could take a thicker flake and then it would get underneath. It is physically possible to get under that. It's just not physically possible with this particular flake. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for the thinning and stuff. Let me see. 42. Let's do it 7. Is it? No, it's less than 7 millimeter. It's like a 5. 5 millimeter? Yeah, by 42. It's like a little bit better than 8-1. On some stuff that's kind of crackly. It turned out well. I did depend on luck to a certain extent. But I'm not going to try to flatten out other areas that I could try to flatten out. Like right here. I could try to flatten this out more by running flakes along these ridges. But nope, that's it. Now it's just sharpening and notching. But I'm not going to do it on this video. Nope. I'm going to add this in to my other bifaces that I made the past few days. I'm focusing on these triple flow bifaces and smoky obsidian. I'm going to add this in, finish these out for the auction. Yeah. Yep. All right. That's it.